You haven't started?
Just started right now. Hey, 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 welcome into another episode of Out of Bounds. This is the week 2 recap and a brief, actually, week 3 prediction show, as it was a crazy week 2 in the NFL. But first, let's get started with your host here. That is me, Todd Fox, and the other host of the show.
Carlos. I'm just going by Carlos now. No more confusion. So let's just get that out of the way. Done with the skull zone thing. We're just gonna stay to Carlos now.
Yes, we are. And Carlos, what did you think about week 2, man?
Week two was week two was the definition of the NFL season, the NFL sport altogether, football. Actually, when you think you know, you just don't know.
Exactly. I mean, it's hard to predict any of this stuff anymore. It really is. But you'll see by our way that you just went over in the pre-show as far as like how many wins and losses we had. I mean, we racked them up this week. But again, these teams aren't going to make their identities known for a few more weeks. There's a lot of surprises. So let's get into it. Um, as we do, we had a Thursday night game, which was a big game. It was the Chargers and the Chiefs in Kansas City. I'm gonna go over the stats. My boy's gonna sum it up real quick. Justin Herbert, 33 of 48, 334, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Eckler only rushed for 39 yards. Mike Williams was the leading receiver for the Chargers, 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Pat Mahomes did Pat Mahomes things, 24 for 35, 235, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was enjoying his brother not being on the field again. Edwards-Helaire rushed for 8 and 74. He had a big 52-yard run later in the game. Also, Kelsey went 5 for 51 to lead the team. What are your thoughts on this game, my boy?
The Chiefs won in a big way. They won the game, and I almost call him Philip Rivers, but Justin Herbert is also he might miss a few games because of the injury that he took when he got sacked. I thought the Chargers were pretty good. I thought that they were still good. I thought they were going to win. Even watching the game, I thought the Chargers should have won that game, but it is what it is. Mike Williams is a absolute baller.
He is. In this game, I'll just give my quick synopsis on this one. There were 3 dropped interceptions in this game, 2 by Sante Samuel Jr. and another one by, I think, another corner, where, that was the difference in this game. Herbert throws that terrible interception when they were going in for the lead, and then you had that drop by a Samuel that, they were up 10. They could have went up 3 scores. And then you had one at the goal line where he drops one where he could have ran it back for 100 yards. That was the difference in the game. Otherwise, the Chargers played straight up with him the whole time.
I will give I will give a shout out to Patrick Mahomes, that one sidearm throw that he threw when he was scrambling to the
Mm-hmm.
right hand side, and he like I don't know how he did it, but he threw it sidearmed and it went right in through the defenders, like 2 defenders, and McKinnon caught it. I was like, man, that was a beautiful touchdown.
He's got the most unique freaking throws out there, and I'm telling you, he's one of the best quarterbacks. And real quick side note, as a Seahawks fan, back in the day, were scouting him and with Josh Allen for Buffalo as a successor to Wilson. So we missed on both.
Not only you guys, a lot of teams missed out on them guys.
Yep, yep. All right, so that moves us to any other final thoughts on this game, because this game was pretty crazy.
No, not that I could think of.
Okay, okay. So we'll move on to the second one, which again, this game on paper looked good, but with 2 defenses, you think Miami and Baltimore, you think defense, you don't think offense like this, and especially with Miami. But Miami goes to 2-0. They win 42-38. I'll let you get into what happens here, but 36 of 50 for Tua, 469, 6 touchdowns. Mostart rushed for 51 yards, 190 yards from Tyreek Hill. So, boy, that's paid off. Waddle was waddling for 11 for 171. So, those 2 receivers had over 360 yards by themselves. Bateman had 108 yards for the Ravens. Andrews had 104. Jackson was a leading rusher, no surprise there. 9 carries for 119 yards. I still don't like that for a quarterback. He did throw 3 touchdowns and no picks, 318. Crazy, crazy game, bro. Your takes on this game?
Man, it's like the Ravens had this game locked up and they were ready. I think they fell asleep. And what ended up happening was what I think ended up happening was somehow, some way, both head coaches got together and Harbaugh And I can't think of the guy, the guy that came from San Francisco, the coach. I'm still getting familiar with him, the coach of the Dolphins. They got together, and then they were like, "Wait a minute, my guys are super fast, and your defense isn't supposed to be as fast as mine. You need to tell them to slow down." Dude, there was those back-to-back passes that Tua Tagovailoa made. Dude, the one Martin Humphrey, he was just jog pedaling backwards against Jalen Waddle or Tyreek. It was Jalen Waddle. It was a touchdown again. You know how fast those speed demons are. They're just sitting there back like jogging backwards. How do you do that? How do you do that when you got basically cheetah speed running at you at full speed, and then you turn around and you're like, once your hips are turned against that type of athlete, you're done for. You're cooked.
Yep.
There was no safety back there. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill at the end of the game, they basically took over. But Devin Duvernay, that guy's a stud over there in Baltimore. I think him and Bateman long term are going to be good. Duvernay opening kickoff return, took it to the house. I remember watching the red zone. They opened it off with fucking Duvernay taking it to the house. I was like, wow. And then the week before that, he scored, I think, 1 or 2 touchdowns. So Duvernay, he's got some skills on him.
Yeah, I do. I mean, this team, again, like you were saying, that they're going to be one of the fastest teams in the NFL, especially on offense. And if Tua can get the ball to him, I mean, you were right in preseason in those picks. You were like, if he can get the ball to him, they're going to be a scary team. And we counted them out, but they scored 28 points in that fourth quarter to overcome that big deficit. And credit to Tua. I mean, I'm a high critic on that guy. I still don't like a left-handed quarterback, not named Steve Young or Michael Vick. And I'm telling you, he showed some stuff. I mean, he looked really, really good. And you're absolutely right. I don't know what the Ravens were doing playing that kind of defense, backpedaling. Matthew McWilliams checks in with Tua. Todd's a closet Niners fan. And also the coach is Mike McDaniel you're looking for.
Mike McDaniel, thank you. It's going to take me some time to familiarize myself with that coach's name. Thank you for the name drop. It's just Miami. I don't know if you consider that a good or a great win. I mean, you're down by so many points, and I mean, when you put the footage out there when you're down, you put your best plays out when you need points. Miami does. They're just gonna go deep on you. Like, how did Baltimore not see that coming? Like, I don't understand, dude. Like, Baltimore, they had that game in their hands. And Lamar Jackson, you read off the stats and all that. Rashad Bateman caught like a slant, and he took that puppy 75 yards. I was like, damn, Baltimore's in full control. And I was like, and then like the Red Zone channel, like, you know how crazy that thing could go.
Yeah.
Like, they just started showing how Baltimore just started coughing up the lead and choking it. I was like, what the hell, dude? I was frustrated for Baltimore. I was like, damn, how does that happen?
Yeah, it's one thing to do it and cough it up like that, but at home too. And I think now, to your question, I think that's going to give confidence to Miami moving forward that they can come back against other teams. And also it's going to put doubt into other teams like, oh, shit, we really got to play tough defense because now, Miami, if they can march it on Baltimore, imagine what they could do against us.
But at the same time, there should also be a lot of doubts. Like, you should look at the negatives. Like, you're not gonna get those lucky Hail Mary one play touchdowns against every single defense. Like, every team's gonna be looking for that now. So I mean, you can't put yourself in that predicament every single game and expect that 3 plays later you got the lead or whatever. And Baltimore, how dare they kicked the field goal, knowing damn well Miami's been scoring touchdowns instead of kicking that field goal. That field goal was useless. Last field goal, that was useless because Miami just came down. They just bombed another touchdown on them. I was like, dude, you need to score touchdowns. Like, it's to a point where field goals mean nothing against Miami. You gotta keep your foot on the pedal. And Matt McWilliams, man, a little bit more of that Miami Dolphins pie. I mean, a little bit more of it. I'm believing a little bit more in the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Well, the Dolphins move on to what, 2-0?
They go to 2-0. Baltimore falls to 1-1.
Not 2-0, 2-0.
Oh, gee. You were working on that one all week, weren't you? See, you're official dad when you make a joke like that.
Yes, I am. Yeah, joke of the league right there.
Exactly. So that moves us on. So you had so the first 2 games they've highlighted, you had a 3-point victory for the Chiefs. Now you had a 4-point victory for Miami, a comeback. This was an even more epic comeback because nobody saw. If you didn't see the Miami one coming, you didn't see this one coming. Jets win on the road in Cleveland, spoil Cleveland's home opener. That Cleveland was trying to get to 2-0 without the butt tickler, and no MILF Hunter for the Jets. And still with Joe Flacco, the Jets come back and win 31-30. Flacco goes 26 of 44, 307, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He must have felt like he was on the Ravens still. Hall rushed for 50 yards. Wilson had 8 catches for 102 yards and 2 big touchdowns. For Cleveland, Brissett went 22 of 27, not bad. Game manager, a touchdown and a pick, 229. Chubb rushed for 17 and 87, 3 touchdowns. Hunt had 13 rushes for 58 yards, so combined they rushed for 130. And then you had Cooper, Austin Cooper, with 9 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Thoughts on this one, bro? This one was a crazy ending too. But between the two teams in the fourth quarter, they scored 30 points.
Hey, well, quick shout out to the Cleveland Brown faithful out there, all 5 of them Cleveland Brown fans. I like what they did with their logo at the midfield. They put, what's his name, Brownie the elf in the midfield. That was pretty cool. Like, it literally saying, like, if you thought the old school Bengal, like, remember the Bengal took up, like, basically about half the fucking field, like 30 yards. This thing's just stretching from sideline to sideline, like, and it's just retarded. It's a big ass elf just sitting there. That's the reason they gave it that lead. And dude, and then Kevin Stefanski, dude, like, they showed him. I felt bad for him after the game because he's a former Vikings offensive coordinator. I was like, damn, they did that man dirty. They showed him, like, on the sidelines when the game was about to be over. He had his kids all behind him. They were all ready to walk on the field. Like, we won. They were up by, like, 2 touchdowns. And then, dude, I don't know what happened. I just remember a quick shout out to Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, he looks and feels he plays like he belongs in the 90s, dude. He's got the cool ass fucking 1990s look to him. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of Jacoby Brissett. I like Jacoby. I wish he was a Viking just because he represents the old school.
Okay.
He's nothing flashy and all that, but yeah, man, like, I remember the play. It was like, I think it was Wilson or one of the receivers for the Jets got behind the cover 2, and then Brissett just hit him, and then there was no safety. Same thing that happened in the Baltimore game. He took off, scored a touchdown. Then New York comes back and gets the onside kick, and then they end up going down there and taking the lead, and then they win by a point. I was sitting there like, I can't believe. I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I was kicking myself. I was like, man, I can't believe. Like, I had that pick right there. Like, the Browns gave that game up. That's the reason why I have a losing record this week.
Well, you know, the thing is too with that game, the onside kick recovery, the percentage of getting one is 4%, and leave it to the Browns to freaking not get that onside kick recovery. So I mean, they were stunned at home. I mean, you should the pictures of Browns fans. I mean, Cleveland fans in general losing their team to a wokeness, and then the Cavaliers with LeBron or LeBum. And then you have this stuff with the Browns. It's like they never get – the only thing they really have to celebrate up there is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And even then they get let down by them. So it must suck to be an Ohio fan.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing, man. There are some diehard Brown and Lion fans out here. Like, I wouldn't say diehard, but they love showing off their Lion and Browns gear up here. But for some reason, there's no Bengal love up here in Toledo, man.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense either. I mean – you're in that area, I think, northern area close to Detroit, but so you see both, like you said. But I mean, people are diehard Browns fans. I mean, they've been. I mean, look, they had more people at an 0-16 parade. Remember that when they went 0-16, they had a parade for the Browns.
Yeah, Yeah, I remember that. I thought you were going to say when they won their first game, the Thursday night game against the Jets. Against the Jets. Remember? I don't know if you heard about it, but they were like free Bud Light for if the Browns win, and the Browns ended up winning, and they unlocked all the coolers for everybody to get free beer that night.
Yeah,
that was a huge. Huh?
It's freaking hilarious because I was going to say that's more fans that showed up for the Rams Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, those are some hardcore fans, man. Those Brown fans. From what I hear, I've never been to a Browns game, but the people that have gone to Browns game, like Titan fans over here, like fans of all different teams that have gone to Browns games, they say that those Brown fans can get pretty nasty.
I wouldn't doubt it. I remember back in the day in the 80s, they used to say that you didn't want to get, like, sort of how Raider Nation has the black hole. The original dog pound has been like tempered nowadays, but they said the dog pound back in the day at the old municipal stadium, like you could not go in there, dude. Like literally.
I thought you were gonna say.
Laughing.
I thought you were gonna say, you know, the Raiders got the black hole, the Browns got the brown. The Browns got the brown hole. That's what their stadium needs to be called for that. That's what I would start calling it. It's the brown hole.
It should, dude. Brother, I want that brown hole.
They got an elf in the middle of it all.
Come see the elf in the brown hole.
Does he move in there?
He crawls around like a gerbil.
Oh shit, man.
All right. Well, enough of that shenanigans. Let's move on to the next game. This is a game where it used to be a must see, must watch game, but with all the players that have retired and left, it's just another game. But the names are still there. The Patriots went into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with a surprising win in Cincinnati was 1-0. New England was 1-0, so something had to give, or they were 0-1. Something had to give here, and both teams ended up leaving the stadium 1-1 as New England snuck by with a 17-14 game. Mac Jones went 21 of 35, 250, and a touchdown and a pick. Harris 15 for 71 on the ground. And then through the air, Aguilar 6 for 110 and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers had 9 for 95, so good distribution right there. And for the Steelers, Mitch Trubisky, which you like to call Turd Biscuit, my fault. I usually call him Captain Checkdown. He went 21 of 33, only 168 yards. He was sacked 3 times, touchdown and a pick. Harris went 15 for 49. They do not have the ground game that they used to, and that's going to hurt him this year. Johnson had 6 for 57. Thoughts on this 17-14 kind of boring game?
Well, it was extremely boring. It was a game where I really had, I mean, like seeing how the flow of the game was and then thinking of the quarterbacks and, Pittsburgh's got a really good offense. It's just that Turd Biscuit. He's just dink and dunk. He's not nothing that you want to look forward to. I don't know how Steelers fans look at him. I don't know if they're like happy to have him as a quarterback. But they're saying that Turd Biscuit has a longer leash because they're not ready to put the rookie quarterback in just yet, which I don't know why not. I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, just to throw him in there and see what you got with that rookie quarterback. Pick it. I mean, but Tomlin is a smart coach, a lot smarter than I am with football, so I'm leave it to him to do the right thing. Yeah, they've got a really good offense. I did see one play where Nelson Aguilar mossed the hell out of some defender. He basically put his hands, basically his elbows were hugging around the defender's helmet, and he took the ball away in the air, and he took off for a pretty good chunk against the Steelers. Minkah Fitzpatrick is a complete baller, and I don't know what it is about the Steelers. If you look at the Steelers' history, they always have a safety. Mm-hmm. Regardless if it's by trade or by draft, they always have a safety. You go back to the Rod Woodson days, you go to Troy Polamalu, and then now you go to Minkah Fitzpatrick. They always have a safety.
They used to have a guy too in the 90s and 80s, Carnell Lake. He was another power hitting safety too. I will say this too. You said it in the beginning of the season when our prediction show, and I'll give you credit for it. You were saying basically, the New England Patriots, you don't have much faith in them. It's not like when they had Tom Brady. When they had Tom Brady, they attracted all the stars. They haven't made any trades. They haven't made any deals. They think they could just draft and win with what they got and make it a
draft good.
Yeah, exactly. But your points were saying that like you weren't expecting much from them. And it's funny because the other day I was listening to a recap of some of these NFL games, and a guy literally said exactly what you said word for word. So it's like you called it 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, they're in cruise control. That's the Bill Belichick. Like basically, he's like, oh, we got good enough players to just get by. We just got to make it to the playoffs, and if we get the right team, we get hot at the right time, we're gonna end up making some noise. Dude, they're gonna be a one and done. They're gonna be a wild card team. There's no way they're gonna keep up with Miami's explosive offense. Dude, Miami and Buffalo are gonna wipe the floor. They're gonna mop the floor with that. Dude, they got. Dude, the way Bill Belichick is running the Patriots nowadays, minus all that Tom Brady Super Bowl talk, just ignore it. From this year on, if you look at the Patriots, he reminds me so much of Mike Zimmer. Like, it's just like run, pass. It's just like dink and dunk, and then whole team's down, and then hopefully you get a nice little drive here and there, win by a field goal, make it a night. Dude, that's 90s at its best. Bill Belichick, he might be on a hot seat before you know it, man. I wouldn't be surprised if with him, but he's got so many Super Bowls, so it's kind of hard to put him on. He would have to have like 3 or 4 straight losing seasons for him to be. They would tell him to retire. They wouldn't be able to fire him. New England would riot if they fired him.
Yeah, because I think you're absolutely right. Coaches like him, Carroll, what they do after their quarterbacks are gone, like same thing with Tomlin, is how their legacy is going to be dealt. Like if they're able to latch onto another quarterback, if they're able to reinvent themselves and win somewhere else, then they're great. You know, they're already great for their time period, but when their marriage is over to that quarterback and they got to do it with somebody else, then you could see what kind of coach they really are.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So that moves us on to our next game, which is the Who Gives a Fuck game of the week. And that's the second one that involves the WNBA team. And this WNBA team, not only were they celebrating the Aces championship, again, the WNBA is like, yeah, let's put our championship up against NFL football. That makes a lot of sense. And then you bitch about the ratings. But that's a story for another day. Jaguars hosted the Colts. Now, the Colts were very disappointing in week one, getting a tie against Houston. So they were already against the 8-ball right here. Frank Reich was already under pressure on this one. But he was playing the WNBA Aces here of the NFL, so you thought they had a chance to go in here and wipe the floor with them. Not so much. Matt Ryan, 16 of 30, 195 yards, 3 picks, and he was sacked 5 times. Jonathan Taylor, who everyone thought would be breaking out this season, boy, oh boy, if you drafted this guy, you're probably pissed. 9 carries, 54 yards. Doolin, 5 receptions, 79 yards. The WNBA superstar Trevor Lawrence, 25 of 30, 235, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's probably the best game he's ever had. Robinson, 23 carries, 64 yards, and Kirk again led the team with 6 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Thoughts on this boring-ass 24-0 game?
I loved it. I loved it because I believe in James Robinson, man. That's my guy right there. I'm telling you, man. I've been praising this man since the beginning of the season. Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he can be an okay quarterback, not elite quarterback, nothing like what you saw in college. I think he can be a slightly better than a game manager, and that's okay. That's okay because they're going to slowly start moving. They're going to start slowly moving the pages, like getting closer to when what was his name? Was his name Blake Bortles, the quarterback when they had that nasty defense and they took the Patriots to the limit. They can slowly get back to that level of play. I think that they've got the running dude. That dude James Robinson, man. Every time he touches the ball, he makes me smile, man. That dude is good. I think that they got good weapons. Christian Kirk actually kind of surprised me. He's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good. He's earning his money, and no hate against the Jaguars because you can't really hate on a team like that that's finally having a little bit of success after all the crap that they've been through. Like that's one team that if they were to make it far and the Vikings weren't like to crap the bed and not make the playoffs, that's a team I would root for right there. Just because I know what that fan base has been through, just like the Vikings. I love underdogs. And as far as the Colts, the reason I was laughing when you were talking about it was because I just thought about how Jonathan Taylor caught the league off guard last year, and everybody just fell in love with him in fantasy football. Like, we're going to draft him number 1 overall. Like, dude, he caught everybody off guard. How did you not see that? How is your football IQ so low where you fall for the trap? It was one season that he did that. Like, do it again, and then we could talk about drafting you in the top 10. I stayed away from him. Even if I would have gotten the number 1 overall pick, I would have stayed away from Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry because those guys have been injury prone. I know Derrick Henry only got injured last year, but still, that's a sign. His foot, dude, that's where like he's got too much body mass, and the way he runs, he's not gonna make it the whole season. And then hopefully I got the sound right. This is what I think about Matt Ryan and Turd Biscuit really quick. Hey, every time, look, I know we're not on the Steelers game no more, but every time Turd Biscuit, every time Turd Biscuit would release a ball, this is how the ball normally has that little you put a little bit of mustard on.
He puts mustard on.
Biscuit. When the ball comes out of Turd Biscuit's hands, this is what comes out with the ball. That's why he's with no picks because nobody wants to touch that.
That's why they're purposely dropping it, huh? That ball's got a little too much brown on it.
A little too much stank.
All right, well, the WNBA Aces win 24-0. Let's move on to the next game, which, again, no one saw this coming either. The Giants are now 2-0. Carolina you thought they were going to be 1-0 or even possibly 2-0, but they've lost 2 heartbreaking games back-to-back. Baker Mayfield, 14 of 29, 145 yards. He was sacked twice, a touchdown, no picks. McCaffrey finally had a good game, 15 carries, 102 yards, but he had a 49-yard long, which was made up for most of that. So he basically had 14 carries for like 53 yards. Moore had 3 for 43, so he hit 7 different receivers, but no one really topped the list of 100. Daniel Jones continues to have a pretty decent game plan going. He went 22 of 34, but checked down Charlie, 176 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley went 10 for 72, and for some reason, Daniel Jones rushed 10 times for 21 yards. But the Giants come back and or actually hold on to a lead, or it was tied. Carolina came back, but they were able to get the field goal at the end. What do you think of this? The G-men are now 2-0.
You know, they're getting into these comeback wins or these comeback games, these close games, these nail biters, dude. That's a if you're a Giant fan, you should be happy. You're staying under the radar and you're in a huge market like New York. Brian Daboll, Brian Daboll, the head coach, who was the offensive coordinator for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills last year. Dude, if he gets it going, dude, forget about it. Like everybody was counting Josh Allen out before he had that breakout season or that somewhat decent season. Everybody was like, dude, that dude the same things that Daniel Jones is going through. Now, if Daniel Jones plays anything like Josh Allen, forget about it. Mm-hmm. The only question that I have is, are like, what are they going to do about the running back position over there in New York? Are they going to re-sign Saquon Barkley? Do the fans want him back? Like that one's a tough one. I think I asked you last week. I'm pretty sure I asked you last week. Like if he has, like, let's just say he has 2,000 yards this year in the air and on the ground, is he worth a max deal, a big contract? Me and you both said no on that one. But if he keeps it up and he stays healthy, and then it's going to be tough to not want to sign him, especially because he's homegrown with the New York Giants. And the New York Giants could be onto something, man. They could be onto something, and Carolina, I just feel bad for them because they do got a nice team. They do got a really, really good team. It's just that, dude, I'm telling you, I don't trust that guy, Matt Rule. That dude, he sucks, man. That dude, like, literally, I know he's a head coach and he earned his position or whatever, but he's not going to get the Panthers anywhere far. And that's sad because Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, they got Christian McCaffrey. Baker Mayfield's an okay quarterback, pretty good. And that defense has speed on it, man. Like, it's hard to root against the Panthers, but the reason I go against them is because of Matt Rule. So when I do pick against them, that's the reason why I pick against him, is because Matt Rule he's not trustworthy. He's the guy that's going to let you down.
I thought he was going to be a good coach when he left Baylor, but I didn't like the way he left Baylor. And this guy from the Giants, I don't know too much about him, but I've seen just more passion with him, more fire. He's more of a in-your-face guy wanting results, and to me, he's getting the best out of the freaking Giants right now. And I think if moving, because Daniel Jones we've both agreed that he's not a good quarterback,
But I'm telling you, like, I'm starting to, like, kind of change it a little bit to where Daniel Jones can't turn around because of that guy Brian Daboll. That dude, I was like, man, he doesn't have Josh Allen anymore. He's going to New York, but I was like, I better hold my thoughts back and let's keep wiggling back and forth on the fence with it. But I think that Brian Daboll is going to do pretty good in the NFC East over there with the Giants, dude. The NFC East is going to start getting really competitive if the Cowboys get together.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to them too because they're the wild card. They were supposed to be the team that's going to walk away with it. The Eagles were supposed to be improving. The Giants were like whatever, and then the woke team was the woke team. But now you look at it and you're thinking, okay, you got the Eagles, and now you got the Giants right there, and you don't write off the Cowboys yet. So it might actually turn into a division to where you want to watch. Where I know me and you earlier in the season were like, it's just going to be the Cowboys' division to lose.
As everybody else thought that same process. Mm-hmm. Media hype.
Exactly. You never know in the NFL. That's what makes this game so beautiful and the hardest thing to bet on. So that moves us to our next game, and unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to 2-0 as they beat the Saints. The Saints. I don't know if you got the same impression in this game, but obviously with the coaching change and things, the Saints just don't look the same. They did not play like how we're accustomed to them to. And Winston had all kinds of butter from them crab legs all over his hands as he threw 3 picks in this one. Brady went 18 of 34, 190 yards, a touchdown. Nothing spectacular. I mean, on offense for the Bucs at all. Fournette had 65 on the ground. Evans had 3 for 61 before he got suspended for the fight. And then Winston again, like I said, 25 of 40, a lot of checkdowns, 236, a touchdown, 3 picks. He was sacked 6 times. Ingram only had 58 on the ground. Olave only had 80 yards.
Chris Olave.
Yeah, Olave had only 80 yards. Thank you. And then Thomas had only 65. So it wasn't a banner day for offenses at all, but this was a weird game, and Tampa won 20-10.
Tampa won based on defense. It was a really like I was watching it. They kept showing it on red zone because it was that close and they kept going back and forth. Once that scuffle happened, that's when things turned around for Tampa. That's what they needed. They needed that spark to happen. But New Orleans was holding. They were hanging in there with Tampa Bay. That score it says 20-10, but realistically, New Orleans should have won that game. But that game was basically those interceptions. Was it three interceptions you said that Jameis Winston threw?
Yep.
Like two of those were pick sixes.
Hmm.
Like, or I want to say two of those were pick sixes. But take away those pick six, they were right there with the Buccaneers, and now the Buccaneers are in trouble. Dude, the reason the Buccaneers didn't put up more of a fight, like it looked like a miserable game. It was, like unless you're a diehard fan of either one of these teams, you're gonna like nobody else is gonna watch play for play. But the reason the Buccaneers look so slow is because they're missing a whole bunch of pieces. Like they're missing Godwin, they don't have a tight end, they're missing like half their offensive line, and now they just lost Mike Evans this week too. They're signing Cole Beasley to be their go-to guy, and he
Hmm.
hasn't played since last year.
Yep.
So they're missing a whole bunch of, but then again, this is a beautiful thing because it's setting Tom Brady up for a huge loss in the playoffs. Hopefully they make it to the playoffs and they get absolutely stomped. And Tom Brady, this is his last season getting blown out.
Well, if they do get blown out in the first round, he's gonna be kicking himself because he's probably gonna lose his wife over this because she wanted him to retire. He should have just retired, and he came back for yet another season. I don't know why.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like there's more competitive things to do in life other than football. Like you could go open up your own gambling area, like your own like casino. You can go and like just be a head coach for a Pee Wee team. You can get into other things. But I just think he just needed to get away from his family. Like he's gonna be trouble when he actually has to be retired.
Yeah, because he
Because I was
should be
gonna.
spending time with his family, not getting away from him.
How old is he? Like 45.
45, yeah.
He's 10 years older than I am. Man, I wouldn't be able to play NFL right now. I don't know how he's still doing it.
I know. I mean, he all that guacamole ice cream, man. That's what it is. Um, the surprise of the day, if you want to call it a surprise, I don't think so, but I just think that we saw the real woke team out there. And Detroit, we both said they were going to be a little bit better, but they're not going to be flashy. But they will have games like this because of Jackoff. But the woke team came in there 30-46. Carson Wentz, he had probably a really good game, 337 through the air, but a stagnant first quarter and first half in general. They were being shut out 22-0 by Detroit. I mean, who gets shut out by Detroit first off, and who's down double digits to Detroit? That never happens, but it happened in this game. The ground game was non-existent. Receiving wise, he spread the ball around to a lot of receivers: McKissick, Samuel, McLaurin, and then Jackoff went 20 for 34. Probably his best Detroit Lion game: 256, 4 touchdowns, no picks. St. Brown led the team with 68 yards. They kind of spread it around there, and then also St. Brown had 9 catches for 116 and 2 touchdowns. Thoughts on Detroit beating the woke team and holding on 36-27?
A few things I could think of. It was Detroit's home opener for the season. So, I mean, after a few games, I thought to myself, I was like, dude, how did I not realize that it's the home opener? It is hard to go into another team's building and beat them for the first week of the season when the fans are going to give so much energy off and all that. So, and then just Detroit, like I've said it over and over again, man. Detroit will always do this to you, man. It's rare when they do this an entire season when they look competitive like the entire season. They'll fight you. They'll fight you till like for most of the game, but then they'll end up falling apart. But Detroit, for me, especially because they're in my division, they'll have these starts. They will have these starts. I don't care who the coach is, but they'll have these starts where they'll be like 4-2, 5-3, or something like that. Everybody will be like, "Wow, Detroit's turned the corner," and all this and that. And before you know it, Detroit's on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. They're sitting there like just discombobulated, half empty arena or stadium, and then it's just like back to the same old Lions. And then like with a month left of football, that's when they want to pick it back up, messing up their whole entire draft. Like that's just what Detroit does. If you look at like I'll say the last 10 years, they might have made the playoffs once maybe, but
Mhm.
they do this almost every single year. They do this almost every single year. You watch, they're probably gonna have like a 6-2 record or like a 6-3 record, and then they're just gonna just completely crap the bed. Remember when John Kitna was a Detroit Lion? They were like 9-2 or something, and then they missed the playoffs. They, like I think they were like 6-1, something crazy like that. And then like I remember the media was just sitting there trolling on them. They were like, how did the Lions do that with John Kitna? He predicted that they were gonna make the playoffs. It's just typical Lions stuff, man. It was their home opener. Washington was sitting there. If it wasn't Washington, Washington would have won that game. It was their home opener. But Detroit kind of scares me a little bit because it's early in the season, and we always see them early in the season doing their a tough opening season team. Like first month and a half, they're one of the toughest teams to play. But if you catch them in like November, October, you could chalk that up as a win.
Exactly. And well, you got them right here, 1-1. The Woke go down, and with an opportunity to go 2-0. So there you go. And those are probably their two easiest opponents, Jacksonville and also Detroit. So that moves us on to a game that I was in attendance to, and it was raining, so it was a little bit miserable. But my boys didn't show up for shit. We didn't look good at all. Seattle goes to San Francisco and takes a big fat loss. The score looks worse than it really was, but if you think about it, in this game, real quick synopsis, the Seahawks had 3 turnovers in the first half. They also committed 10 penalties, 7 which extended offensive third downs for the Niners, so you can't win on that. Geno Smith was captain check down all the way, 24 of 30, 197 and a pick. He was terrible in this game. Rashard Penny was non-existent, 6 carries for 15 yards. And then they ran what they called a wildcat twice, where, again, you run it one time. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen that in 10 years. And then they ran it again, and our running back threw a pick straight to the freaking Niners corner. So you run the wildcat at the 5-yard line, it's a halfback pass, you're not going to do anything. Lockett had 9 for 107. That was all garbage, so that don't even chalk that up to him having a good game. And the 12th man was not on Seattle's side. The 12th man was Trey Lance. And I guarantee you if Trey Lance plays this game, the entire game, Seattle has a chance to win. Even with all those turnovers, they were close in this game. It was 13-0 for a long time. It was 20-7 for a long time. Seattle had chances to drive and couldn't do it. But Jimmy G came in and went 13-21. He made the passes when he could. And like I said, the defense extended plays for the Niners. And the Niners just got an easy win against us, and they earned it. Wilson had 18 carries for 84 yards. Samuel had 4 for 53. Ayuk was big in this game, 5 for 63. And the Niners got a straight-up butt kicking on us, 27-7.
It was 27-7?
Yep, they got a garbage touchdown at the end.
I thought it was 20-7. That's the last time I checked the score. But a few things stand out in this game. First, I got to ask you, what was the atmosphere like in that game, in that stadium, in the arena, and like where the parking lot and everything? Was it anything like Seattle or no? I mean, the weather. You got to think about the weather too. If the weather was different, it might have been something different, something.
I thought there was going to be more Jackass fans there. We got a few of them, but for the most part, it's cool. I mean, my friend Tony had a jersey on that said Sierra's bitch because he had it repatched over Wilson. So he got a lot of love from the Niner fans. The fans were, for the most part, pretty good. I think that stadium is one of the best I've been to. It's a beautiful stadium, but the parking itself is shit. You literally pay high dollar to park close, but all the fans, where they get out, they block your way to get out. So you're having to, even though you parked real close and you want to leave after the game, you can't. And it took forever to get out of that stadium. So it was a good hour and 20 minutes for us to get out of there, and we stayed the whole game. So there was fans that were leaving through the fourth quarter, but I think the atmosphere was good. The stadium was beautiful. I just didn't like the result.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one. Another question on that: how much was it for like parking?
Parking where we were, because we didn't park directly in the stadium, and it still took us forever to get out of there. We were across the street for $30, but if you park inside the stadium, I think it's 60.
That's about what it is over here when you go to the Lions game. This was back I want to say about 6-7 years ago when I last went. It was like 20 or $25 to park right next to the stadium. But we're gonna go in December, me and my nephews, and I'll see how much the parking and everything costs.
Bro, at SoFi Stadium, it's 120 to park.
It's not even worth going to one of those games, dude. It's just hell no. Unless you're getting free tickets, I mean, but
that's why everyone walks from miles away, dude. There's no reason to park inside that stadium.
None. But that game, the Seahawks versus the 49ers, I think that Last week I said that the Niners, when we were making the predictions for the Niners and the Seahawks, I said that the Seahawks were going to come out with they're not going to be as energetic. Like normally,
Mm.
that's typically what happens, even in the playoffs or any time of the season. The team just gets so much energy, and then it's just like, yeah, they come away with the win, but then the very next week, I saw it firsthand in 2017 when the Vikings had that Minneapolis Miracle, and then they go to Philadelphia, and then they come out completely flat with no energy. It's just like and that's something to be scared of when your team plays so energetic and everything goes their way. The very following week, it's just like damn, the complete opposite happened because now they're so caught up in this bubble where they're confident, they're like we're not worried. They start overlooking all these other teams, and then that's how they end up getting smacked around.
Well,
Um,
real quick on that one, you ain't lying because we had a great view of the Seattle bench, and the see the body language compared to the Niners. The Seahawks were dead until they made that blocked field goal, and they ran it back for a touchdown, and they were back in it, and their defense got a quick stop, and the momentum was on their side, and Pete Carroll decides to run 3 runs in a row for 4 yards, and they punt it right back to the Niners. I mean that killed the momentum, bro. I mean they had a chance, for a
Pete
brief
Carroll
second.
doing Pete Carroll doing old fart things, right?
Exactly.
That's them old coaches, man. Trust me, I know Mike Zimmer. I'm happy he's not in the picture no more for the Vikings. But yeah, man, it's just like Geno Smith, man. I mean, those numbers look pretty decent. 24 for 30, you said, but it was all check downs. He was just basically he's a game manager, from what it sounds like. Um, the 49ers, I mean, another thing that I'm gonna say about them is one thing that I'll say about them is that this is back-to-back weeks where they get in these sluggish games with teams that aren't gonna make the playoffs, like the Bears and the Seahawks, and that's troubling for if you're a 49er fan because what's gonna happen when you come across a team like I don't know, like Philadelphia or like shoot, I don't even know. Even right now, Detroit, I would probably pick Detroit to beat that 49. Maybe I might be picked up the Lions over the 49ers. But it's just like they get into these, it's always like that with the 49ers. I don't know if that's going to be good for the long term or what, but
We'll
or
talk.
that's their.
We'll talk about if they get one of your opponents that you're talking about, because you'll see who they play here in Week 3. I'll let you judge that one for yourself.
All right.
So moving on from that one, again, Seattle falls to 1-1. Niners go to 1-1. The SoFi Rams take on the Atlanta Falcons, and unfortunately for Falcon fans, they were down 28-3, so they can never get rid of that moniker. Either they're up 28-3, they're down. But in this game, they were down 28-3 before they made a furious comeback, and before Jalen Ramsey made a play to save the game because the Falcons were going in for the dagger, and they were going to beat the Rams in L.A., but Mariota threw his second pick. He was 17 for 26, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Cordell Patterson, 10 for 41, led the Falcons. London had 8 for 86 through the air. Stafford, 27 to 36, not bad, 272, but Detroit numbers, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Henderson rushed for 10 for 47. The Rams still can't get it going on the ground. But Cooper Kupp did Cooper Kupp things, 11 catches for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is their saving grace. And for some reason, teams just don't understand that they can double team him and take their chances with the other receivers. Instead, they let him run wild in the slot. Thoughts on this game?
No, this is a game where I wasn't at home, so the only thing I could do is just keep up with my phone because it was we were celebrating me and my daughter's birthday a week later because the weather was crappy last weekend. But I had my eyes on like the scores, and then they had the Cowboys and the Bengals game on, so I was trying to catch up with all the games and all that. But during this game, I saw the highlight of Drake London Drake. I think he played good because he was back home. He's from USC. He's from that area, so he wanted to show out for his for the hometown team, for his hometown where he's from. How long is Marcus Mariota going to be the quarterback for the Falcons? He's not a long term solution. Maybe they're not going to play the rookie this year. That's yet to be determined. I think the Falcons just look like a team that's just they'll be lucky if they get 5 wins this year with Marcus Mariota, and then they got a wide receiver as their main running back. I mean, I got him on my fantasy team, but Cordero Patterson is not a running back that you're going to rely on week after week. That dude's going to break down eventually. He's got a wide receiver body, but then again, it is a passing league, so it's not like he's going to get beat up a lot.
I agree. And the
The
Falcons.
Rams,
Okay.
I was just gonna say, like everything you just said about the Rams is just like, how do you not work on the running game? Like last year, they traded for Sony Michelle, and he's not even on the team no more. Cam Akers is basically no name now. He's just an average back, and so is Henderson. It's just like they don't even work on their tight ends. They're just relying on Cooper Kupp to do it all. Allen Robinson, I think, got a touchdown, but I don't know. The Rams just seem like they're gonna be like they'll be lucky to make the playoffs.
I hope you're right, because I'm tired of them. I'm tired of that team being a supposed super team, but we'll see. I mean, they've got a lot of warts in that team. The offensive line has been banged up, so we'll see moving on. But they do get the victory. They go to 1-1, and the Falcons fall to 0-2. Now, moving over to a shitty team again, Houston Texans 0-1 after this game. They went to Mile High for Russell Wilson's triumphant return or triumphant debut as the starting quarterback for the Broncos. And this game was ugly, bro. Mills went 19 for 38, 177 yards. Talk about check down. He had a QBR of only 19.9. Pierce rushed for 69 yards. Let's see. Collins had 4 for 58. So, again, a bunch of no-namers for Houston. They're going to be terrible this year. Russell Wilson, not so much. The $250 million quarterback they were thinking. 14 for 31. 14 for 31. 219, a touchdown and a pick. He was sacked 3 more times. I thought he wasn't going to get touched, Denver Broncos. That's what they were bragging about. Williams rushed for 75 yards. Gordon rushed for 47. So at least they had 2 guys get over 100 yards together. Sutton had 7 catches for 122. Other than that, he really didn't hit any other receivers but once. Thoughts on the Broncos in this game? Literally, it was 6-6 going to the fourth quarter.
Denver better get their shit together because they're going to get into these sluggish games with teams like the Texans. I mean, the Texans are pro teams. I don't want to put any disrespect or shame on any teams out there, but this is like the Broncos should be like head and shoulders on. But this was supposed to be a statement game. Me and you talked about it last week. That like coming off that loss to Seattle, this was supposed to be their statement game. And I was just looking at the score. This was another one where I had to keep my eyes on the phone. I was sitting there like, why is the score so close? Like, why is Seattle or why? Because I'm thinking of Russell Wilson to Seattle. Why is Denver not blowing Houston now? Like Houston has Davis Mills. Like, come on, what's going on, Denver? So, I mean, Denver, hopefully they're in just like a rough patch of the season. They're getting familiar with each other. But if they're like this by like middle of the season, like week 6, 7, 8, or 9 or whatever, if they're still getting into these close games and not blowing teams out, there's going to be trouble in Denver.
I agree. And John Elway is going to take the brunt of it because you gave up a hell of a lot to get him. And he was supposed to just electrify this offense. Now, I'm not going to judge the Broncos till like week 5, week 6, like you said, and see if they still haven't gotten it together and he's still playing pretty crappy, they're not airing it out, and you're not hearing the let Russell cook thing, then this was a huge mistake by Denver.
Well, if you remember, we all remember because we heard about it nonstop. I'm pretty sure you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Aaron Rodgers was their plan A, and when that didn't happen, Russell Wilson was plan B. So, I mean, the way the Broncos established themselves and built themselves up by bringing in Nathaniel Hackett, he was, I think, the quarterback coach or the offensive coordinator for Green Bay last year.
Yep.
And he was supposed to bring in Aaron Rodgers with them to Denver. He was supposed to bring him over because nobody knew what Aaron Rodgers was doing. He's pulling a Brett Favre every single year because he wants to be in the media. He's like LeBron James. Dude, seriously, like Aaron Rodgers, whenever like it's the off season, he has something to be in the media's attention. Like he's an attention-seeking whore.
Mm-hmm.
But Russell Wilson was Plan B, and now I'm thinking that it's starting to show that the offense is built for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers and Wilson are 2 different quarterbacks. You can't run the same style of offense with both quarterbacks. And I also heard from a Bronco fan that Denver is not letting Russ cook. They're not letting Russ cook. They're holding him back like Pete Carroll was. I was like, why is that happening? That's the reason why Russell Wilson left Seattle, was because they were holding him back and they weren't letting him take control of the offense.
I agree. It's puzzling to me. I would think that you would let him go off, but nope, hasn't happened yet.
Ugly. What were his numbers? 14 for 31, you said?
14 for 31, just 200 yards passing.
That shit is terrible. That's like Christian Ponder numbers right there.
Yeah, it is bad. That's bad. So they still get the W, so you credit them there, but they're 1-1.
Dude, they got Walmart. They got Walmart Russell Wilson. They don't got the elite Russell Wilson. They got the generic.
They do.
Got the made in China Russell Wilson.
They got the great value Russell Wilson.
Those numbers, dude, those are terrible numbers.
That is. Well, that'll move us on to another game where you look at the Raiders and the Cardinals and you think the Raiders at home, loud, obnoxious fans, they should get the W in this one. They should be 1-1 because they played like they were 1-1. Cardinals, unfortunately, steal this one and they go to 1-1. The Raiders fall to 0-2. So you look at what happened here in this game. Kyler Murray, 31 for 49, 277, a touchdown and a pick, 8 receptions for 59 yards for Williams. Ertz led the team. Zach Ertz still in the league. 8 catches, 75 yards as a tight end. Also for the Raiders, Captain Eyeliner was 25 for 39, 252, 2 touchdowns and no picks, but he had a very bad emo look on his face after this loss. Jacobs rushed 19 times for 69 yards. Hollins was the leading receiver, 5 for 66, along with Renfro. Now, Renfro, 7 catches for 59 yards. It's all well and good, but he had 2 huge fumbles in this game, including the one in overtime, which led to the run back, which led to the win. So 29-23, the Cardinals still win in overtime. Thoughts on this one?
I didn't hear. I might have missed it, but did you read off the stats for the wide receivers for Arizona?
Yeah, I read one. I read Ertz, but you had Brown 6 for 68, Dortch 4 for 55, Connor 2 for 26.
So Brown actually did. He had an okay game. Marquise Brown.
Yeah, he was okay. I mean, considering they don't have their main target, you know.
So would you think that Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, is a first round talent?
Nope.
That's what Arizona gave up from. Remember, they traded their first overall pick for Marquise Brown. That's why you didn't say his numbers, because they had like 6 for 7. You said 6 for 70, 6 for 67.
6 for 68. Yeah, that's it.
That's not first round talent right there, and he's got familiarity in that offense, that air raid offense, and Kyler Murray. Dude, Kyler Murray getting slapped. I wish they would have hit him a little bit harder. Dude, I can't stand that dude, Kyler Murray. After the game, did you see that video?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I wish. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say nothing because he's. I don't wish violence on nobody, but I don't know, man. It's just that, like, I feel like you did. I feel like the Raiders should have won that game. They had that game just like the Ravens had that game and the Browns had that game, but they let those games go. You live and you learn. Those were a few of the games that I picked that went against me at the last second, like Arizona, that fumble, like it was destined to happen for Arizona to win. They're not supposed to be 0-2. Now the Raiders being 0-2 with Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro and Captain Eyeliner, and then them not re-signing Josh Jake. Like, dude, what's going on over there in Las Vegas?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it makes you feel like they should have never fired someone for emails that everyone was saying the same words years ago, but I won't get into that. But they should have kept him.
That's all media driven. They're gonna push him to a corner, but let's not get into that. That's a story for another game.
I'm just saying, had they had that particular coach, I don't think they'd be 0-2 with those guys you just named off. I mean, the Raiders have a very talented team, and their defense is good too.
Top to bottom, they even got those edge rushers. They got Chandler Jones and what's the other guy? Max what? The other guy for the Raiders. I can't think of his last name.
I know who you're talking about.
He's the white guy. He's like a beast. He's really good. He gets out the edge.
Yeah, I mean they have a team where they should be 2-0 right now. I mean, again, the Chargers played them straight up. I ain't gonna take nothing away from them. That game could have went either way, but they could have been 2-0, but they should have been 1-1, I should say.
But you know what? The AFC West isn't looking as strong as everybody pointed it out to be.
That's true. That's true.
Early in the season, after 2 weeks, the AFC West looks like another average division, just like every other division.
True. Well, that'll move us on to another team that shouldn't be 0-2. The defending AFC champions are now 0-2. They should have walked into Big D and gave them their Big D and got a big W. But instead, somehow, some way, Jerry Jones was smiling with that plastic surgery face of his. Joe Burrow went 24 of 36, 199 yards, a touchdown, and he was sacked 6 fucking times. Mixon, 19 carries for 57 yards, very disappointing. Higgins went 6 for 71 through the air. Chase, 5 for 54. Rush, for the second time, he's had to fill in for Captain I get injured. 19 for 31, 235, a touchdown, and big thing right here, no interceptions. Elliott, the Ewok, rushed 15 times for 53 yards. Pollard 14 for 4 or 9 for 43. Brown was your leading receiver, 5 catches, 91 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 7 for 75, but he spread the ball around. Dallas did just enough, including staving off a late comeback by the Bengals. What did you think about this one? Dallas 20, Cincinnati 17.
What do you and everybody else always say about the team that loses the Super Bowl the very next year? What do you guys always say that Super Bowl loss is like a curse to all teams except for like maybe 1 or 2 every I don't know, like 25 years or whatever the case may be. I think Cincinnati, they just came into the season thinking that they were big and bad and better than everybody else, ignoring all their flaws. And I picked the Bengals to win both weeks 1 and 2. Just because of what they did last year, but now we got to move on to this year. So it's like now they're showing us what I mean, they're not catching nobody off guard. If anything, everybody's got them circled in on every single week. Every team is going to give them the business because that's like the other team's Super Bowl or playoff game right there because that team made it to the Super Bowl. The Bengals, they've got a team. They've got their strongest weakness is their biggest weakness, I should say, is their offensive line because you just said 6 sacks. And then Joe Burrow, is he going to get injured again because the offensive line can't block? You can only have, I don't know. I don't know. I hope he doesn't get injured because I like Joe Burrow. I like Jamar Chase. And I like the Bengals. I do because that's another underdog team that's finally having some type of success. A year ago at this time, nobody picked the Bengals to make the Super Bowl. So I hope that they can pick it back up and get back to doing what they did last year because I don't want the Steelers to return back to dominance. I can't stand the Steelers.
I hear you right there. The Bengals were our picks to win the division, right?
Yeah, I think everybody. If you said if you picked another team to win the division, you're full of crap, dude. I'm not buying none of that. Unless you show me proof that you did a video and you got to show me like time and date and all that. But that's not important right now. But what is important is Cooper Rush, dude. Cooper Rush. You said the second time that him filling in for Dak Prescott. You know who the first game that he like the when he filled in for Dak Prescott
The
was
Vikings,
against?
right?
You remember that on Halloween?
Yep, yep.
Where Amari Cooper caught that game-winning touchdown over Cam Dantzler. That shit, it was fucking like the whole entire week. I know this is last year, and we should be talking about this year, but I remember that whole entire week. They were like, "Is Dak Prescott going to play, or is it going to be Cooper Rush?" Cooper Rush, nobody knows about it. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Cooper Rush, he can play. He's like, you know who Cooper Rush is starting to look like and remind me of?
Huh.
He's starting to remind me. He's giving me like Gus Frerotte, Brad Johnson vibes, man. Like he'll fill in for a game or two, and he'll get the job done.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then they're going to need him to fill in for quite some time. I don't know if it's going to be 4 weeks or 5 weeks more, but Dak's going to be out for a while. So big win for Big D. I mean, they had to get off the Schneids, and they did. So kudos to them. Big win over the Bengals. Bengals are in trouble as we move forward. Now we move forward to Carlos's favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. They played his second favorite team, the Chicago Bears. Both teams will improve or fall to 1-1 as the Packers had this game over by halftime. And when I look at the stats here, as they win 27-10, they were up 24-3 at half or 24-7. Josh Fields, 7 for 11, just 70 yards and a pick, sacked 3 times. They rushed the ball with Montgomery 15 times for 122 yards, no touchdowns. St. Brown had 2 catches for 39 yards. Aaron Rodgers was just pedestrian Aaron Rodgers, 19 for 25, 234, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Jones, 15 for 132 yards on the ground. Dillon for 18 for 61. That was the key in this one, rushing for almost 200 yards. And Watkins led the team in receiving for 3 for 93. Real quick, your thoughts on the receiving core that got a lot of pub in the offseason for the Bears and the fact that you would only have your quarterback throw 11 times.
My thoughts on this game?
Yeah. Turbisky throws another pass.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I was watching that game because I wanted Chicago to win that one. I was like, dude, I know that the Bears are a rival, and I hate the Bears, but man, dude, Green Bay man, they're just a team that just gets away with so much, dude. Even when they're in the slumps, even when they have a bad down year, they're still right there to win the division and make the playoffs, dude. And the Bears, I was just sitting there watching the game. I was like, what kind of crap is this? Like the Packers are just sitting there, like everything was to the inside, everything was just dink and dunk. The Aaron Rodgers, there was nothing deep. I don't know what his throw average, what his passing average like per yard per pass, how many yards he was completing, but
8.5.
8.5.
8.5. That's it.
That's it right there for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. But he doesn't have. I told you last week the reason I picked the Bears to win that game is because I thought that the Bears are going to do something. There's nothing scary about that offense. It's just like basically you're playing a run heavy team now. Without the RPO, Aaron Rodgers cannot get that ball out. Like I was watching him and I was like, dude, he was sitting there trying to get rid of the ball, but he can't throw it because the wide receivers can't get open unless there's like some busted coverage. Watching the Packers in back-to-back weeks, there's nothing impressive about them. They just run the ball. They run the ball, but that's their strength right now. If they keep running the ball, I mean, I guess that's good, but one of those running backs is going to get injured because teams are going to start smacking these running backs, and it's only going to be the 3rd week of the season. How long are these running backs going to carry the load? Because Aaron Rodgers, he's not scary this year, man. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is scary, but the talent around him is absolute dog shit. That's just honest truth. Their defense can keep them in games too, but Dude, everything is dink and dunk. You want to talk about a absolute boring offense? The Packers this year. If you need a nap, watch the Packers versus the Bears the next time that they play. I was just sitting there watching. I was like, dude, Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields could actually be a pretty good quarterback, even though I've trashed on him for being from Ohio State. It's just that the coaches that he's had, dude, from Matt Nagy to this pile of crap coach that he has, they don't let, like, basically like how Pete Carroll and Nathaniel Hackett are holding Russell Wilson back. They're holding Justin Fields back, dude. They're holding him back because when he actually like starts making plays, you could see it, you could feel it. Like, I
Mm.
feel that guy could be good, and that says a lot because I'll be the first one to admit I've always trashed Justin Fields because of the way he looks and the way where he came from, but it's
Well,
just sad to see that the Bears, huh?
well, let me ask you a question on Fields real quick. So in a game where you lose 27-10, if the Bears were winning 27-10 and his final stats were 7 for 11, you would agree with that, right? Because you're thinking, okay, they're pounding the rock, they're just trying to run the clock out, right?
Yeah.
But how is he 7 for 11 when you're losing by 17?
I'm telling you, dude, that was a mystery. I was watching that game. And it's just like you don't know how to explain it. It's just watching that game. It's just like a whole bunch of like frustration builds up, and it's just like the Packers just dodged the bullet in that one. It was just like the Packers were just doing like the most minimal stuff. Like they were just turning like these little 6, 7 yard slants and then just converting the first downs. It was just long and boring, dude. It was just one of the type of games where you just I don't know. The only reason I watched it was because I thought that Chicago was going to come back. And that touchdown that everybody's talking about, I don't think that was a touchdown because his knee touchdown and all that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the referees got it right. But, what did you think about that touchdown that got taken away if you watched it?
It should have been legit because when you have a knee counts as 2 feet, so or a body part, even a butt cheek, so
Yeah.
it's on the discretion of the freaking the. It could have went either way, basically.
Well, I will say one more thing about this game because I know not a lot of people have interest in the Bears, and I feel bad for them because, dude, like we I don't know, man. We talked about it last week, and the Bears just can't get it right, man. But I feel good about it because I know that the Vikings are going to have 2 free wins this year,
Yeah, I
so,
think so.
that's a huge positive. At least at very worst, the Vikings will be three and they'll have 3 wins this year.
Out of that division, at least maybe four
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
So that moves us on. That was a Sunday night game. We had two Monday night games. The first one was the Tennessee Titans, who fall to 0-2 surprisingly against the Buffalo Bills, who are now 2-0, and they look like the juggernaut that everyone's predicted so far. And they got a big 41-7 pounding on the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill went 11 for 20. He was ineffective in this game, only 117 yards, 2 picks. Haskins rushed for 37 yards for them. He outdid Henry, who was 13 for 25. He could not get it going. Burks 4 for 47 through the air for Tennessee. And then Josh Allen, 26 of 38, 317, 4 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, that guy was just on fire. Cook 11 for 53 on the ground, but the air game was Diggs and Diggs again, 12 catches for 148 yards, 3 mother effing touchdowns. So if you had him on your team, you were excited, either Allen or Stephon Diggs. So thoughts on the Bills? Are they as good as we thought they are? And what the fuck is up with the Titans?
It's kind of hard. I think that they're really really good. They picked up from last year. Everything is going good. They're missing a few of their cornerbacks too in Buffalo. I mean, I wanna say that they're good, but it's too early in the season, and Tennessee just looks like they don't belong anymore. It just looks like Tennessee, their window is closed. Nobody's scared of Tennessee because they don't have a wide receiver that's going to go over the top like AJ Brown. And all you really got to do is just wait for them to snap the ball and wait for Derrick Henry to grab it and then make a tackle. So I mean, he's a big guy, but if you got like 2, 3 guys, it's basically like three cheetahs going after a zebra. He stands no chance. Um, Buffalo, I think that they are legit. It's gonna be interesting what happens if they. I don't know if they play against the Chiefs this year, but if they play in the regular season, man, ratings are gonna be through the roof in that game. I don't know. Let's just say that game was to happen next week. Who would you pick right now, the Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills?
I would have to say the Buffalo Bills. I think they want that. They want that revenge more than anything, man. The Bills are a team that's looking really really good right now, and the Chiefs. I have my what is it called, reservations about them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they have some holes in them, and I think the Bills would exploit it. Unlike what they did this year or last year in the playoffs, how the Chiefs did just enough to exploit that. So.
I'll say another thing on the Buffalo Bills, man. Honestly, I'm going to say that they're a good team and they might be the best team in the AFC, maybe in the entire NFL. And the only reason I'm saying that is because now, what was James Cook's numbers? What was his stat line?
I think it was 15 for
Run,
53.
the running back, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother.
Yeah, 15 for
15.
53.
Once he gets it going, they're going to be able to run the ball and they're going to be able to hit you with play actions. And you do not want to see the Bills on a play action boot. You do not want to see Josh Allen get that play action under his wing. If that running game gets it going and they can go through Singletary, Cook, and Moss, if they can get all three of those running backs to give you production, forget about it. The Bills are going to be absolutely nasty. I can't wait to see them smash the New England Patriots, man.
Me too.
I can't wait.
Well, that moves us on to a game. Unfortunately, your team scored as much as mine did. As this was Monday night, and Kirk Cousins was like, "Wait a minute, I've had a good start that one time on Monday night, but let me show you what I could really do here." And they lost 24-7. Kirk Cousins 27 of 46, 221, a touchdown and 3 picks in this one versus Jalen Hurts, who went 26 of 31, 333, a touchdown and a pick. The stats aren't pulling up here for a minute, so you're going to have to bear with me. Maybe you have the stats there for the Vikings, but basically the Vikings were down 24-7 at half, and nobody scored in the third and fourth. What happened to the Vikings offense?
Man, well, first I want to get to the defense, dude. Did you watch any of that game?
I watched the first half, yeah.
That's all you didn't miss anything in the second half. They pointed it out back to back weeks when we beat the Packers. It's just cover four on defense. It's 31. His name is Ed Donatel, but I call him Ed Donaturd because he coaches like a turd, dude. How do you call cover four the entire game? I almost called him the Chiefs. The Eagles are a run heavy team, and he was coming out in the shell defense. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw your post about the cover four. That's the only play he called.
Yeah, it was frustrating because he was getting tore up by everybody, dude. Like the fucking Ed Donatel, he's been coaching for like 32 years. I'm 35 years old. He's been coaching for as long as I've been alive. And for him to come out in that, I think that there was some rigging going on in that game. There's no way you've been coaching for 32 years and you come out and just nothing but cover four against a run heavy team. Like that made absolutely no sense. Harrison Smith is a no factor. I hate to say it. I love Harrison Smith, the safety, but that dude basically he's just another body out there. We could right now while his value is still somewhat decent, we can trade him for a first round pick, not a first round pick, but get something in return from him because what he's doing, what Harrison Smith is doing, anybody could do that, dude. Just fall back like 10 to 15 yards, and then that's it. That's all you got to do in that defense. There's no switching it up. There's no man-to-man. There's no blitzing. There's nothing. It's to cover for it. That's why we lost right there. Kirk Cousins, the reason the offense didn't take off, and it finally hit me after, I don't know, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years with the Vikings. After I don't know how many years Kirk Cousins has been our quarterback. But Kirk Cousins, what I've noticed and my conclusion on Kirk Cousins is never going to change from this point on. It's not that he sucks. He's capable of being a starting quarterback. He's been a starting quarterback and he stays healthy. He can do everything that you can ask him to do. He can make any throw. He's a really good top quality quarterback, but the one trait that nobody points out where his biggest flaw is not that he's a choker. He's a choker on Monday night primetime games. That's a huge flaw right there in his game and his arsenal and his skills and whatever you want to call it. He has no leadership.
I agree.
All the games that we've ever lost and that we're down by like double digits, we start making these little comebacks. You've seen it plenty of times when we go to Seattle when you guys had Russell Wilson. It's like garbage time Kurt, like everybody says it. But when we're getting blown out, like last year against Atlanta or this year against Philadelphia, any game, any point in time, even back in his Washington days, when have you ever seen Kirk Cousins get up in his wide receiver's face and be like, "We need to pull this. We need to pull through." He doesn't have that leadership in him. If he had that leadership killer instinct, like come on, like wilding up the crowd or like wilding up the veterans and everything like that, and being a team captain, then the Vikings would be in a much better state. But watching that game, dude, like when the Eagles would send pressure at him, Kirk Cousins would just fall back. He would just fall back and he would just give up on the play. It's like when the leaders like that's when the leader's supposed to step up. That's when the captain is supposed to step up and be like, "We're gonna do this." If Justin Jefferson's taking care of over here, Adam Thielen's gonna be over here. If he's taking care of, we got other options. We can go to the running back. I can sit here, play action, boot, take off for like 4 or 5 years. He's not a leader, bro. Kirk Cousins is not a leader. He's gonna be our holdback. But the good thing about it is is Quasi, our general manager. He's not gonna put up with it for too long. If the season is about to be lost, he'll pull the trigger on a trade to get Cousins out of there, man. He'll do something. I trust in our GM and our head coach because Kirk Cousins, man, that dude. He's not a leader, bro. But I'm telling you, if he had that leadership quality in him, where he would get in his players' face and like be like, we need to get this going and all this and that, you can count the Vikings out. You can count the Vikings out.
I got you. I think the Vikings have made too many mistakes when it comes to that. They should have settled on a quarterback, a better quarterback, a long time ago. But like you said, you still can save this with the right move. So it can happen because that team is close to being a championship team, and they have
Are we
been.
really though? Are we really though? Like I thought about it, and we just got a whole bunch of like new pieces here and there, and it's just like I don't know, man. I started thinking about it, and I was like, are we really a championship caliber defense or team? And I was like, I don't know, man. I got my thoughts about my own team.
They're close. I do know that they're a team that they could easily be a double-digit win team. They just need consistent quarterback play because you have the
Yeah.
weapons there. I mean, it's just sort of like the Raiders. You got weapons on both sides of the ball, but can they all click at the same time? Is there the right game plan being called? So it's one of those where everything's got to come together, and if it does, you guys could be very special and very dangerous teams moving forward. So that was the week 2 recap. Now, my boy here and I are going to get into week 3, the actual calling of the picks. And again, what are our records going into week 3?
Our records going into week 3. Let me get the paper. Our records are kind of like we got the same numbers, but a little bit off. You'll see what I'm talking about. Todd, your record is 17 wins, 14 losses, and one tie. Thank you, Colts and Texans. In my record, I got 14 wins and 17 losses with one tie. So you're 17 and 14, and I'm 14 and 17. What are the odds that happens?
That's terrible on both sides, man. There's nothing to brag about.
Dude, it was those comebacks. It was those letdowns. That was like what? How many comebacks? The Cardinals, the
4.
Jets, like 4 of them that costed me. Like I know you were right on like 1 or 2 of them, but dude, that costed me a lot right there.
Yep. It could have changed things very dramatically right there.
Big time.
So let's move on to tomorrow's game, which is Cleveland with that big old elf in the brown hole is going to be hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams 1-1. Trubisky versus Brissett. Who do you got and why?
Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, and you said it's going to be in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland.
I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh in this one. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh.
Okay. Why is that?
I just think that Cleveland they got in their way, and now there's going to be a lot of confusion. They're going to try and fix what they shouldn't be trying to fix right now. They're going to try and over prepare for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers just got a win against the Patriots. It was a sloppy win, so they didn't put out too much energy. They're not going to come in flat. It's going to be a primetime game. Cleveland is going to be just like. Are we like there's a lot of question marks because of that letdown. That was a massive letdown, and that was against the Jets. The Steelers are a better team than the Jets right now. And I think that the Steelers are they're like sharks and they smell blood in the water and they're gonna take it to the Browns. I wouldn't be surprised. I can't say that it's gonna be a blowout because every time I say that any game's gonna be a blowout, it's actually the complete opposite. It's like a really tight, close game. So I'll go with the Steelers with like a late touchdown win or a late field goal win.
All right. I'm going to go the opposite on this one. I got Cleveland winning close. I agree with everything you said. Pittsburgh's always in Cleveland's head, but I think Cleveland exercised the little demons last year. But I think that they're going to want to, we're going to see if I think this game's going to determine if Cleveland makes the playoffs or not. Because are we going to see the old Cleveland team, which is going to take a tough loss in the chin and just fade away or go on a losing streak? Or are we going to see the new Cleveland team that's going to turn the page and be like, hey, man, that was 1 week. We've effed up. Let's win one here at home. So I'm going to give Cleveland the benefit of the doubt. So we'll go opposite of each other in that game. The next one, again, is a game that used to mean something again, but because of New England's falling off, it's just another game, but it looks good on paper. Baltimore, after blowing that game, plays New England. Both teams 1-1. Who do you got and why?
In this one, I'm gonna go with Baltimore. I'll go with Baltimore winning this one because Bill Belichick, I almost said he's always scrambled. He's always had a hard time against scrambling quarterbacks, going back to Deshaun Watson in Houston. He just can't figure out how to stop scrambling quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson is the king of scrambling. For that reason, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think that Baltimore they got too much speed. New England is just too like I don't know, man. New England just seems it's a bad matchup for New England. Even if this was in the playoffs and it was in New England, I still go with Baltimore because I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a huge part in it. He's gonna have another 100 yards on the ground against New England. I'm telling you, Bill Belichick does not know. He doesn't have an answer for a mobile quarterback.
I agree with you on this one. I think this one's going to be close in the first half. I think New England keeps it close, does some trickery to get a touchdown or two, and you're surprised at halftime. But I think Baltimore, like you said, is going to take it to them in the second half. There's going to be too much Lamar Jackson. And
After that loss against Miami, you don't think they're going to want to get back out there and put it to the Patriots?
well, I think they'll have trouble in the first half, but I think the second half, they're going to put it to them.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. The next game, I would say just this. If you're going to bet the over right now, because right now it was 6-point, underdogs are the Colts at home versus the Chiefs. I would, and right now it went up to 8-point favorites for the Chiefs. I would bet the over because I think the Chiefs are going to just mutilate the Colts. Colts 2-0 or 0-1-1 hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you got and why?
On this one, it's in Indianapolis.
Correct.
I'm gonna go with the Colts on this one. I think that the Chiefs are gonna overlook the Colts. It happens all the time. You'll be like, this will be one of the type of games where you just look at the screen like, how the hell did that happen? It's almost like the Broncos and the Texans game, and nobody saw that one coming. Everybody's gonna count the Colts out, but dude, that's what makes the NFL so great because stuff like this happens, dude. Like Jonathan Taylor, like we don't know how good the Chiefs' run defense is until we see them up against Jonathan Taylor. I think Matt Ryan could put something together, dude. Everybody's writing the Colts off. You don't think the players and coaches in that locker room are tired of hearing same old, like the Colts are going to be 0-3 and all this and that. Chiefs are going to they're going to put up like 40 or 50 on them. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs go into Indianapolis and absolutely blow them out. But something's telling me that this is going to be one of them type of games that the Colts can somehow surprise the Chiefs.
Okay, I like that. That's a bold prediction right there. So that's Carlos's pick right there. I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with a safe pick. I think the Chiefs blow them out. Next game is New Orleans at Carolina. New Orleans is 1-1. Carolina 0-2. Can Carolina afford to go 0-3? I don't think so. Who you got in this one?
This one I'm gonna go with Carolina in this one. I think that Carolina's come close a few times to getting their first win. I think it's going to happen this time. We've seen you said it. The way you broke down the Patriots, the Buccaneers and the Saints game earlier in the show. It's perfect. It's perfect for Carolina to get this win. It's in Carolina. It's a divisional game. People are going to pick the New Orleans Saints, but they, like you said it earlier. They do not look like the same team. They don't have Sean Payton there running the show no more. Carolina, they look like they can catch New Orleans off guard. It wouldn't surprise nobody, right? It's a divisional game. You see this happen all the time. Back when the Browns and the Bengals used to suck ass, they used to surprise the Steelers from time to time. So, Carolina is a good team. I'm telling you, it's just Matt Rule sucks, man. If the Panthers lose this game, it's going to be all on Matt Rule, dude. He'll be on the hot seat before you know it if he loses this game.
I agree. I want to pick the Saints, but again, for all those reasons you said, and then also, like, I don't see Baker and them losing. They've lost 2 tough games in a row. I think they turn around with this one. It might be a little warm over there in New Orleans, so they'll make the Saints wear their dark jerseys and stuff. So stuff like that you don't think matters, but it always comes to favor with teams like Miami. So I think Carolina's going to squeak one out. It is going to be a hard-fought game.
Real quick, over or under, Jameis Winston, three interceptions.
I say under, but I think if you're going to say 3 turnovers, I'll say over because he might have a couple fumbles.
That's going to be another. You got to think about Jameis Winston too. He's gonna help the Carolina. He's going to be the 12th man.
He sure is. That's been his problem. Remember, it was a couple years ago. He had like 30 touchdowns and 31 interceptions.
And I remember I saw a meme on Facebook or Twitter. It was like Jameis Winston's going to have his own ESPN 30 for 30. 30 touchdowns that 1 year.
Well, with that excitement, if you're not roused for that game, you're really going to get a chubby for this one. The Houston Texans go into Chicago. So you have 2 quarterbacks struggling mightily, but the Texans are 0-1-1. Can they pull the upset against the Bears?
Man, I gotta go first on this one, huh?
Yes, you do.
Jesus, dude, like this one, the only thing I can find intriguing. There's 2 things I can find intriguing about this game. The matchup between Davis Mills versus Justin Fields. I think they're both in their second year right now. I don't know who you would pick as for the quarterback, but right now I kind of like what I see in Davis Mills. He's not a flashy guy, but there's more on the plate for Justin Fields to check off. Like people are expecting the moon out of Justin Fields. Too much pressure. Justin Fields. I don't know if you heard about what he said that that a loss hurts more for the team, for the players in the locker room than it does for the fans. Like, how do you say that fans are the reason why you're playing the sport? Like, I don't know. I think that is getting to him. He's showing emotions. And what do I always say about emotional players? They got soft skin. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with Lovie Smith making his return back to Chicago and getting that W.
Woo! You know what, man? I like that pick. I like it a lot. But just because I have to, I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right.
Because I mean that's a bold pick, but I can see it happening because I was going to ask you over under. Does Fields throw more than 20 passes in this game?
Man, you're asking me that question. Does he throw over 20 passes? I don't think the Bears trust him. I don't think the Bears trust him, but again, that's gonna be too. That's like, dude, that's like a mystery. You know what you're gonna get out of the Texans? They're gonna be a competitive team. They've been competitive the first two weeks of the season. The Bears, they've been slow, bro. They're just like a cheap ass version of the New England Patriots. They just like they don't scare you. They're boring as fuck. They're slow as fuck. There's nothing impressive about the Bears. No, under 20.
Yeah, well, I would look at it this way. If Fields throws under 20 in this game, they lose. They lose like 13-10 to Houston. If he throws over 20, they win 13-10 over Houston. That's my thing.
So you're thinking that so you're saying if he throws over 20 pass attempts, they're gonna win?
Yeah, I think they're going to win. If
So
they're
you're saying that Justin Fields is gonna throw over 20 yards or over 20 passes in?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to complete 20. He's just going to throw over 20.
That's terrible, man. For a first round pick, man. Damn.
Yeah, talk about not trusting a quarterback, right?
Dude, does he have trust in himself? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. Now, here is this next game, bro, which is going to be a doozy to pick, and it's got all the makings of a classic. The Buffalo Bills travel to Miami to play in Miami, both teams 2-0. Thoughts on this game?
Thoughts on the Bills going into Miami, into that Miami heat, into that humidity. Um, you can try and make this into a story because the Miami Dolphins they look like they're a fun team. They're explosive. They got speed everywhere. They got just I don't know. They're just a fun team. They're a team that you would play Madden with. You would pick up the controller and you would pick the Miami Dolphins because it's just like you got speed everywhere. They're scary, but I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. As good as the Dolphins look right now, the Buffalo Bills are already there. They're there and some. Like they've got every single position. There's no weakness on the Buffalo Bills. Every single position they like. And James Cook, I'm telling you, James Cook gets it going in this game. Look out for another blowout. Well, I shouldn't say blowout, but look for another Buffalo Bills win. I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to take 3-0 start to the season.
The only thing that scares me in this game, bro, is the humidity. It's if this game was played later in the year, I would go with the Bills hands down. I'm still going with the Bills, but I think it's going to be very close. It might be a shootout. I think the total points for this game or whatever for both teams, I think the number is 49. So that's kind of high. I would still go the over. I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this game. So it's going to be fun watch, but I do think Josh Allen, like you said, and the experience of the Bills already being there, I think the Dolphins, even in a loss, could take something out of this one. Like, hey, we went toe-to-toe with the best team in our division or maybe the league. So I think they're going to give them a good fight, but I think Buffalo wins too.
It's hard. It's hard because I really want to pick the Dolphins because I like the Dolphins because I like the Dolphins players better than I like the Bills players. But the Bills got more chemistry and they've been doing it a lot longer than Miami. When they meet up in Buffalo next, in their next matchup, it'll be a different outcome. I think Miami might be able to beat the Buffalo Bills because they'll have a lot more chemistry. And another factor is that Miami, they're coming off of all this energy. What did I say about the Seahawks going into San Francisco?
A letdown.
After a huge letdown. It happens all the time. So don't be expecting that the Miami Dolphins are gonna be hitting the Bills with these one play touchdowns from like 70 yards. It's not gonna happen. It rarely ever happens when a team goes back to back weeks with explosive energy. Like it just does not happen.
Good call. Very good call. See, that's the kind of stuff you don't get on ESPN right there, because they would have been
No.
already woke. They wouldn't have given a football take. But that was a great football take because honestly, that's the truth. So that will now move us into another 10 o'clock game. This will be Jack Off and the Detroit Tigers. Detroit Lions go into Minnesota to play the Vikings version of Jack Off, Kirk Cousins. Both teams are 1-1. Come on, tell me you're picking the Vikings, bro.
This one right here.
Yep.
This game is in Minnesota. Minnesota just got absolutely destroyed on primetime. Football on Monday Night Football. They got absolutely embarrassed. They could not stop the run or the pass. Jalen Hurts had his way. They could have easily put up 60 to 70 points against the Vikings with that stupid ass fucking defensive coordinator that we got, that fucking old geezer that we need to get rid of. He needs to go, bro. That cover four, unless he switches it up. And so until I see different, I'm going with Detroit in this game.
Wow. Okay. You're going. I'm going to go the opposite. I think it's going to be the Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook game. I think the offense gets rolling in this one. I don't like the Detroit Lions on the road at all. I think the Vikings got slapped around a little bit, and they're going to wake back up this week. So I got the Vikings.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. If anything, the best thing that can happen to Minnesota is that they get slaughtered or they lose to the Detroit Lions. So that way, early in the season, we get all that nastiness out of our system. So that way, we don't run into this problem again, and we correct what's going on in the following week against New Orleans. Because after this game, we're going to go and play New Orleans, I think, in London. So I'm expecting the Lions to beat us, and I'm kind of hoping that it happens so that way the Vikings could get, because they went into Philadelphia with like completely confident. They like overlooked Philadelphia. They were like, oh, we got this, we got. So a loss to the Lions is actually, it would be a blessing in disguise for my team, for the Vikings.
True.
Because they need to switch that shit up. They can't fucking rely on just Justin Jefferson on every single play. What's gonna happen if we run into the Eagles in the playoffs again? They're gonna shut us completely down. We need to fix what's wrong, and a loss would not be a bad thing for Minnesota right now.
They got to get the ball to Thielen more as a
And
secondary.
Cook,
Yeah. And
Cook,
yeah.
Cook was a non-factor too.
Yep. Unbelievable. Well, that moves us on to our next game, where Cincinnati is, in my opinion, in a must-win situation as they battle the New York Jets and Joe Flacco in New York. Does New York have what Carlos was describing as a letdown after that huge win in Cleveland, or do they show up with house money and get the job done, or does Cincinnati show up and try to save their season?
New York's they're gonna deal with the angry Joe Burrow. I think that the Bengals knew that they should have won. They know that they should have won. They're not gonna have back-to-back letdowns. They're not gonna go to 0-3. That team is way too good. If they go 0-3, dude, it's gonna be a very long season for Cincinnati. I don't know what you're gonna say. I don't know what the makings of the season will be like. What the storyline would be for this season for the Bengals. I just can't see it because they got too much talent, dude. Like, I don't know, like, and then New York. I think New York, they're going to be full of themselves. They're going to be like, yeah, we scored on these big touchdowns. They're going to be full of themselves, and so I'm going to go with Cincinnati. That's a team that's more desperate, more hungry, and more established. They know what's at line, what's on the line. They can go 0-3, bro. You would have to be a fucking dog shit team to go 0-3. I'm going with Cincinnati.
I agree. I think there was more of Cleveland blowing that game than the Jets winning. However, Cincinnati, though, like you said, they lost both games by 3 points. They got to turn it around and get the win. This is a must-win freaking team. So I'm with you on that one. I don't see them going 0-3. So 1-2 will be the Bengals in this one. I'll go with the Bengals as well. That'll move us on to another Sunday game where, again, someone in this game is going to be 0-3. There's just no doubt about it unless they tie. But Las Vegas, a surprising 0-2 versus Tennessee, a surprising 0-2. Who do you got in this one?
I'm gonna go with Las Vegas. I'm gonna go with Vegas in this one simply because Ryan Tannehill. I don't know what it is about when he made that interception. He was better off not trying to go after the cornerback. He threw it right at the I want to say cornerback. Could have been a safety, but he threw it right at that defender, and that defender took off. And Ryan Tannehill tried making a tackle. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That terrible tackle. It looked like he was just. It looked like he was just. It looked like he was just full of oil, and Ryan Tannehill just completely slid off. It was pointless to even make that. He just got put on a poster because of that, or on a highlight reel right there on YouTube. You'll see that one for years to come. But Ryan Tannehill, if he keeps this type of performance up, you're going to see Malik Willis under center, because if the Titans go 0-3, which they will go 0-3, they're going to have to change it up before the season is lost, right? They're going to have to. The Ryan Tannehill was not the answer. We all knew that Ryan Tannehill was not the answer. And now that he's feeling the pressure, I think he's mentally beat himself, because now ever since Malik Willis was drafted and he's the question was brought up, like, are you gonna teach? I don't know word for word how it was brought up to Ryan Tannehill, but it was brought up to him like, are you gonna mentor him? And then Ryan Tannehill was like, my job isn't to mentor him. So right then and there, I think the seed was planted, and Ryan Tannehill started mentally defeating himself. And his the little bit of confidence that he builds up from this time in Miami going to Tennessee, that little bit of confidence that he just finally had in his brain, it's kind of I sense that it's gone away. I think that Tennessee's going to get beat in this one. And if they get blown out, don't be surprised if Malik Willis. If they're getting blown out, don't be surprised if Malik Willis goes in for the second half to finish up the game. So all you fantasy football players, make sure that you go after Malik Willis because he's going to be starting soon.
Okay. I tend to go with the coaching on this one. I think Vrabel can't let the Titans go to 0-3. I think the Raiders might be your disappointment of the year this early into the season, at least for the first quarter of the year. I think they're going to drop this one as well. I'm going to go against you on this one. I got the Titans winning. I just can't see the Titans, a more established team. And again, I'm not a Tannehill fan. I'm not a Captain Eyeliner fan. I think Captain Eyeliner is a better quarterback. But I think in the end, at home, I just don't see him taking another L for whatever reason. And this is going to be a close one. But I think Eyeliner makes a mistake or two, even with all those goddamn weapons that he has. Give me the Titans in a close victory.
Dang, dude, the Raiders 0-3 with Davante Adams.
Yeah, that's not what everyone expected, right?
Yeah, what is it about? Real quick on this game, last comment on this game. I've been thinking about it, man, and it finally occurred. I finally thought about it while we're having our show. What is it about the Raiders going after these Hall of Fame type wide receivers and absolutely killing their careers? Randy Moss, he went to Oakland back when they were in Oakland, did absolutely nothing for the 2 years that he was there. Jordy Nelson went to Oakland, did absolutely nothing there, and now Davante Adams is going out there, and it looks like he's going to do absolutely nothing out there. So what is it with the Raiders always going after these wide receivers and not doing nothing with them? Doesn't matter what coach.
I don't know. They've got the last time I saw something actually work in Oakland with a receiver like that was Jerry Rice. Other than that, I haven't seen anything else work over there in Oakland. You're right.
That was like a quarter of a century ago too. Like they need to just groom these wide receivers, but then again, they can't draft wide receivers because they don't know how to draft them.
Yeah, they're like the Lions drafting receivers.
I don't know what's wrong with the Raiders, man. But
I mean, was it their last good draft pick on a receiver? That dude's in jail for vehicular manslaughter, DUI.
What's his name? I know who you're talking about. Ruggs, Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs. Yeah, he was supposed to be another good one, and look what happened to him.
That goes back to the Al Davis days. Draft the fastest wide receiver.
Exactly.
It never works out.
It's a shame. So that'll take us to our next game. The Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off a victory over the Vikings, 2-0. Or actually, no, they're 2-0 versus the Washington Woke in Washington, 1-1. Who do you got in why in this one?
I'd love to pick Washington, but Washington just did you see what the Lions did to them? They put up a shit ton of points, and Detroit doesn't have the type of talent that the Eagles have on defense. On offense, they might not even on offense. I think that Detroit, Moss St. Brown and all them, they're getting it together, and then they still got the rookie wide receiver that's going to be out for half the season, so Detroit will be pretty good. But that's another team. I'm going with Philadelphia because that RPO is something crazy. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. Jalen Hurts looks like he's clicked. This is kind of going against what I've been preaching about. What happens when a team has so much energy going into the next week and then like they have a huge letdown. I just don't see Washington having any answers on defense. But I'm picking Philadelphia, but it is a divisional game. You got to think about it like that. It is a divisional game, and you always have those head-scratching games where you're like, dude, this team is so much better, but you also have to factor in, dude, Washington, they're what, 0-2? Are they 0-2?
No, they're 1-1.
They're 1-1. Oh, yeah, they beat
Detroit.
They beat Jacksonville.
Or Jacksonville, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to Philadelphia on this one, but it's a divisional game. That's the only thing I can say. Those are the wildest games right there. Look what happened last year. The Jaguars beat the Colts and kept them from making the playoffs, and the Jaguars got the number 1 overall pick. It's just you just don't know what to expect in divisional games.
True.
This would be a perfect upset, too.
This can be a close game, but I'm with you. I'm not sold on the woke defense, so give me the Eagles in a rout.
Yeah.
So
you said a rout.
Yeah, I still say in the route, dude. I think the Eagles will take it to them. I like their defense. Their defense is very underrated. So that'll move us on to our next game. That'll be a 1 o'clock game. That'll be the Jacksonville Aces with their WNBA superstar Trevor Lawrence, 1-1. Surprisingly, coming in to face the Chargers, fresh off that loss, but they had 10 days to prepare for Jacksonville. Who do you got in this one and why?
Yeah, we don't know Justin Herbert's condition, huh? If he's going to play or not.
I heard he's day to day, so he should play. So that means he'll be limited because they're going to have one of those wraps around his stomach to protect his rib cage.
Dude, give me the Jaguars.
Okay, got the Jaguars. I got the Chargers in this one, but it's going to be ugly. I think you might see a backup quarterback in there, meaning Daniels. Daniels might get a few
Chase
snaps.
Daniels?
Yeah, Chase Daniels might get some snaps. Especially if they got a lead, they're going to hold on to it and take Herbert out. So,
Hey, what do I always say about the Jaguars? Keep feeding the ball to James Robinson, and good things will happen. If James Robinson gets, I want to say, the bulk of the carries, then the Jaguars are going to win. I don't know the Chargers, dude. Something about this game just it spells Jaguars for me, man. I like Jack. I don't know. I'm starting to buy into the Jaguars, man. I don't know what it is about the Jaguars. I like something about them that I like. It started with James Robinson, and I kind of believe in Lawrence Taylor to be their franchise quarterback.
although they miss free throws a lot and they're not good to look at as far as appearance wise, I think the Jaguars could be a team to sneak up on people, and this game's going to be close. I mean, it's not like they're going into a hostile environment. The Chargers still won't have the bulk of the fans. There's still going to be, it might be half and half. Well, although I don't know how the Jaguar fans travel, but I still think that this is not going to be a terrible environment for the Jaguars, like fan-wise. So they're going to hang around in this game. There's no doubt about it. Win or lose, they're going to hang around and give the Chargers problems in this game.
If the Jaguars win this game, they're first place in their division. Think about that. Think about that. No matter what, I think no matter what the outcome is for the Texans, they're winless. The Colts, they're winless. The Titans, what are they? They're 0-2. They're in first place.
Yeah.
They're in first place. If they win this one, they're going to have a commanding lead in the division. Give me the Jaguars all day.
Mero, we wrote this team off, that division too.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I think we even said it like this division's going to suck and all this and that. But Jacksonville might actually be a pretty decent team, man. If they go into LA and they beat the Chargers, who everybody circled as Super Bowl contenders, look out.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, look, Peyton Manning had a type of year that Trevor Lawrence did last year. So maybe Trevor Lawrence is going to – I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning, but maybe he's looked good the first couple of games. So we'll see. Another one, these next two games are going to be kind of hard to pick because I think they're evenly matched up just with injuries or like the talent-wise. So it's not like they're superstar teams or nothing, but they all have their inner demons, and I'll explain in a second. But Green Bay goes to Tampa Bay. Green Bay's 1-1. We discussed their offense earlier. We also talked about Tampa with their injuries, 2-0 at home. Who gets the win and why in this one?
I'm going to go with Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Even though Tom Brady does have magical ways where he pays the referees and sucks the referees off and all that to get his victories and all this and all his glory and all that, I don't think that his offense is going to be up for it. They're missing pieces all throughout that offensive line. I hate the Green Bay Packers with a passion. You know I do. It sucks because I would love nothing more than Green Bay to start off 1-2. I wish they would be going a 0-3 start. But I can't. I got to be smart about it, man. I think Green Bay right now is a better team. It took Tampa Bay. Their defense, though. You know what? Hold on. Their defense is pretty nasty. Their defense is really, really good. They're not missing nothing on defense. And Green Bay, they're just a dink and dunk team. They're really, really good against the run. Really good against the run. And Green Bay doesn't have a tight end. They don't have any wide receivers. They're missing a few other pieces on the offensive line. But their defense is okay. I wouldn't say as good as Tampa Bay. Man, but Tampa Bay, they got Tom Brady and nothing else on offense, Leonard Fournette. And then they got Cole Beasley as their wide receiver I'm going to regret this one, but I'm going with Green Bay. I want to go with Tampa Bay so bad, but because that defense is going to they might shut down Green Bay, but, you know, I gotta be smart. I got to go with Green Bay.
This is going to be an ugly, sweaty game, and I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers as well. I don't see them falling to 1-2. I think the Tampa Bay, you know, the luck of Tom Brady, you know, it worked in New Orleans. I don't think it's going to work here at home against Green Bay. I think Green Bay owes them. They got to get this victory. You can't lose again to Tom Brady. So, you know, I think Tom Brady's been showing his age these first couple games. I think he won't have a clean pocket. So I like Green Bay, but this is going to be an ugly football game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you though, man, don't be surprised. I don't think me and you'll be surprised if Tampa Bay wins this one, just simply because I feel like that Tampa Bay defense is going to keep them alive in that game.
I agree. The next game is Sean McVay and the LA Rams go into Arizona and play the Cardinals, where the Cardinals are just like the Rams. They never have the home field advantage, but they will because there's no Rams fans in this game. But the midget and the Cardinals, can they defend the home turf and get that second W, or does Sean McVay, a.k.a. the genius, pull out another victory out of his butthole?
Oh man, this one I can't see. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to go squarely based on coaching. I'm gonna go with Sean McVay on this one because Cliff Kingsbury he's been a proven loser, and they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I want to say Jalen Ramsey can take away any wide receiver, but that's clearly been debunked week one. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams simply just because better coaching in those precise moments. It'll be a close game, but in those like real tough moments, like it's gonna come down to a decision here or there, and that's where the advantage goes to the Rams for me. I'm gonna go with the Rams over the Cardinals.
I agree. If this was the 49ers, I would say, you know what, the Niners are probably going to win because they're going to take away Cooper Kupp. But I think the Rams are going to make those plays to Cooper Kupp late and also get some more plays out of some of the other receivers like Woods, because I'm not liking Stafford the way he's played this season. He's regressed. He's gone back to Detroit Stafford, but he's still finding Cooper Kupp when he needs to, and I think that's going to be advantage to Rams. The Cardinals team, like for the reasons you put up, they should be 0-2 right now, and they should be likely 0-3 after this one. I think they take the loss. I don't like Kingsbury either. I totally agree with you. He's such an overrated coach.
He's got cool sunglasses though.
Yeah, he does. I'll give him that. So we both got the Rams in that one. So that'll move us on to the last Sunday afternoon game, and that features two birds that are combined with one win in 4 games. The Atlanta Falcons have lost twice, heartbreaking style, 0-2. Seahawks are 1-1. They showed up one week, didn't the other. They're back at home in front of 12s. Who do you got and why?
I'm gonna go with Seattle in this one. I think Seattle at home. These are almost two. I don't want to say identical teams because they're well. You can kind of say that they're identical, but talent wise, I think that Seattle's got a much better talented team. They can slow the game down against Atlanta and cause Marcus Mariota to give them the game. As long as Geno Smith, he's just like a game manager and does not pop the ball up. Marcus Mariota will do that for you guys. I think that playing in Seattle is really, really hard. Everybody knows that playing in Seattle is really, really tough. I don't know what it is about that stadium. It's just extremely loud, and you go all the way out there. You're out there in the Northwest. It's just the crazy atmosphere is just different, and it gets to players. It gets to players. So I'm going to go with Seattle in this one. I just don't see that Marcus Mariota can carry this team. I think pretty soon we might see the rookie quarterback step in. If Atlanta goes 0-3, we're going to be talking about the rookie quarterback coming in soon.
All right, I give you that. And Mariota will make mistakes. I agree. Their defense is not good at all. That's where Seattle's got to take advantage. I think that's what it comes down to. I think I like what Seattle's doing defensively. I think they're going to get it close, but Mariota will get some points for Atlanta. But it's going to come down to can our boy God, I'm forgetting his name, our quarterback get the plays. Yeah, Geno. If Geno can get it done, then we have a chance in this game because, again, Atlanta's defense isn't that good. Seattle hasn't scored a touchdown offensively in 6 quarters. So they're going to have to come through and come with it here and stay consistent. Stop switching the ball up on offense. They really change plays. They get too conservative. If they are able to air it out, maybe this game will be different. But we'll see. I mean, this is 2 teams that are very, very mediocre and are clearly rebuilding. So it's going to be a close game, unfortunately. But I'm going to go with the homer pick in Seattle.
What does 2-1 look like for a rebuilding team? That's the question right there. How good does that feel, knowing that you're in rebuild mode and you still 1 game above 500, 3 games into the season?
I mean, it feels good, but it's fool's gold to everybody else because they know what you are.
Another one. I know you follow the Seahawks pretty close. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. What do they feel about Seattle right now? Are they doing the PC thing and saying all the right things, and just making sure that they don't say anything negative to affect the team, or what do you think about them?
Well, they're being PC, but I know at some point, I mean, Lockett would never go against the team. I think Metcalf has spoken out. I think the offensive, right now the offensive play calling is the thing that's been called into question the most, because even though you got Geno Smith back there, you got weapons, and they have not run the ball good at all. They haven't established the run, and then DK has not had a chance down the field. They haven't trusted him yet, and they've forced a couple passes to him, which hasn't resulted in good things. So,
one more thing about the Seahawks. Who do you think is the best running back for Seattle? Do you think it's Kenneth Walker?
I think it's Kenneth Walker in the long run. Yes.
I like Kenneth Walker. I like that because he's fast. He's got speed, so he can be a home run hitter.
The thing is,
plus everybody else has been there in Seattle right for the last few years. Travis Homer in there. That's the reason why they got Kenneth Walker. So I'm thinking they're going to rely on Kenneth Walker.
Well, the thing is, they got to stop running into the heart of that defense. They keep doing these plays that just aren't going anywhere. Handoffs right up the middle. When they run side to side, they're much better. So I think they need to get back to that. They're showing some 12-man personnel, which they didn't do last year with 2 tight ends. They're putting max protection back there for Geno. They need all that. And for some reason, when they get away from that and they start playing shotgun 5 receivers, shotgun 1 running back, no tight end, handoff up the middle, that's when they start punting like crazy. But when they get imaginative and they go play action, they could do all this other stuff. Geno looks good. It's just for some reason they decide, nah, it's worked. Let's change it up. It doesn't make any sense.
Gotta love that.
You sure do. So enough about my crappy Seahawks. Let's move on to the Sunday night game, and this is one that we circled earlier, and this is a show-me game. Now, we thought that it was going to be a coming-out party for Russell Wilson against the Texans, but it wasn't. Is this the game? Denver hosts the 49ers. Garoppolo now, and I think the Niners are at full strength with Garoppolo. Faces the Denver Broncos. Who you got and why in this one?
I'm gonna go with. This is a tough one. This one caught my eye. I kind of saw it, kind of looked at it. Especially watching like not ESPN but like social media. They've been talking about it. Dude, this is a tough one. Even Seattle. I keep calling Denver Seattle because Russell Wilson. I'm so used to him being in Seattle. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. San Francisco being in full strength, huh?
He almost said "Go Hawks" in the press conference the other day.
I hope he does. I hope he does.
He was like, "Go Broncos."
That's funny right there. Dude, Denver hasn't been impressive. San Francisco, they got Jimmy Garoppolo back. I mean, San Francisco, they've always been like the slow-paced team, and then they just bust you up. They've got a healthier team minus George Kittle. I don't think George Kittle is going to play this week, but that's nothing new. San Francisco's used to George Kittle being on the injury report. Denver has not shown nothing, and now that I think about it, I'm going to go with Shanahan over Hackett. Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers because Nathaniel Hackett, can't trust them. And Russell Wilson, he's being held back. I think what happened earlier when I told you about how he's being held back, the Broncos fan, my coworker, he said that the offense was surprised that Russell Wilson audibled. Like, he's not supposed to audible. Like, they've got him on a really short leash. So there's already tension right there. There's going to be problems if Denver loses this game, which they will. There's going to be some messy laundry that comes out of that after that game because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that they're paying Russell Wilson. And San Francisco, they got their guy back. You know that they're happy that they got him back. They were going to get crushed if they benched Trey Lance this early into the season. So, I mean, it was like a blessing in disguise, sad to say it. And I hate saying it because Trey Lance, I mean, I feel bad for him because he's doing what we all wanted to do, play in front of football crowds and, get paid to do what you love to do. And it's just like, it's sad because he could have been a great quarterback. Now it just looks like he's going to have a pretty bad career, by the way it looks in 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners could easily, I mean, with Trey Lance in there, who knows, maybe Seattle comes back and wins that game. They could be staring at 0-3 with Trey Lance. Garoppolo, again, not having all his weapons, but they still got Ayuk, still got Samuel. I think they're going to do just enough. That defense will be the key. I know Russell Wilson owns the freaking the Niners, but this isn't the 12th man. He's not at home. He's in Denver, and that surprised me too. I thought he'd be calling audibles with no problem, but unfortunately they haven't given him the keys to the car like he wanted to, so I'm sure Sierra's going to bitch about that. But yeah, I'd like the Niners in this one to do just enough and play. I think it comes down to their defense, man. To be honest, I think the Niners are going to wrap up Wilson in this game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And that will now take us to our Monday night game. There's not two Monday night games this week. There's only one, and that's the Dallas Cowboys and Rush going into New York to play the 2-0 Giants. Big game early on. Who do you got and why? These games are always good between these two.
I'm gonna go with the Giants on this one. I think that now Cooper Rush, there's enough footage from last year to this year. And plus, it's Mike McCarthy, dude. Like, you really trust Mike McCarthy? Brian DeBall is getting his hands. He's with a team that doesn't really have a quarterback, but he's doing all like everything that you can possibly do correct with the Giants, getting into these low scoring games, close games. And beating the Titans, a team that was number one in the AFC last year, I want to say, and then beating the Panthers at home, which a lot of people were like 50-50 on that game as it was. Dallas, I'm not sure what, like, dude, their leading receiver is supposed to be CeeDee Lamb, but Brown is actually doing it. You haven't heard nothing about the tight end from Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, they're having mediocre to average seasons. I know we're only 2 games in, but you don't hear nothing about Dallas. Like, I don't hear nothing about Dallas at all, not even from their own fans. And the Giants, they're a sneaky good team that if they win this game, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the Giants and the Eagles meet up. Whenever they meet up, that's going to be a really good game right there. If the Giants win this game, there's going to be momentum going from both directions. And I wish that game would happen next week because it'd be a really tough one to pick. It'd almost be as good as the Bills and the Chiefs. Nowhere near as good, like point wise. Like the Bills and the Chiefs will put up a shit ton of points, but it'll be a game of like chess between the Giants and the Eagles. That would be a good one right there.
I have to agree, man. I like the Giants in this one. It's going to be a close game. I think Rush is going to surprise people. I think he's going to do something like 25 of 44, 300 yards, a couple touchdowns. But I think the key to this game is going to be Saquon Barkley and that Giants crowd. They want this one bad and a chance to go 3-0 in a season where you weren't expected to do much. I think it's going to be huge behind that Giants crowd, and I think the Giants want Dallas really bad on Monday night. So I'm going to go with the Giants going 3-0 as well.
So do you think that the Giants will be the one team that everybody, you know how everybody always talks about how could I say, I can't tell you word for word, but like the worst to first, where the Giants are like this trash team a year ago, and now that they've got a head coach that actually knows how to coach, they'll be first place in that division with Dak Prescott being injured, and then Commanders or the Woke being like a subpar team, and then the Eagles too. If they can beat the Eagles, that division is theirs.
I think so. I think what you said about the Eagles and Giants, those games are usually always low scoring or always back and forth. They're hardly blowouts. So just like this Dallas game, if the Giants survive this game and these teams are headed for a crash course the first time they play each other with winning records, it's going to be good for football. Those are two historically, rivalry teams from the East Coast, so it's going to be fun to watch. So I like the way the Giants are playing. I like the way the Eagles are playing, and the Cowboys are in trouble if they lose this game. We already knew they were with Dak Prescott going down, but you feel if Rush could give you a couple wins, that would help out in the long term. I just don't see Dallas being as good as everyone thought they were. I think last year was an aberration, and they came back down to earth. I think whether they had Dak or not. So I like you said, seeing underdogs come up. The Giants are that underdog, and I'm pulling for them to beat Dallas.
Yeah, you know what? You know how they say in NBA, basketball is always good when the Lakers and the Knicks are good.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL it's always better when the Giants are good. I feel like because when the Giants are good, it's like when Eli Manning was there, and even when Eli Manning wasn't there, when they had Tiki Barber, it was always fun to see the New York Giants play because it's just like something about New York, like the Big Apple and all that. And watching the Giants play, it's even not being a Giants fan, I like when the Giants are good because it's like you beat the big market, and then if your team beats the Giants, that your team is going to get a lot of publicity out of that because they're beating a New York team that's good.
Yeah, because back in the day, I mean, you had the mystique of the Meadowlands. That was like the tough place to play in New Jersey, where the Giants used to play. And then in baseball, you had old Yankee Stadium. Like, it's always good when the Yankees are good, when the Mets are good. Citi Field is rocking. In basketball, I think that's what's hurt lately. Like you said, the Knicks aren't a big market team. They haven't been since the old days of Ewing. But back in the day, it's like, oh shit, you got a game in the Garden versus the Knicks. You know, that's a prime time game. But it's not no more. It's just like, oh, you got the Knicks, you're gonna blow them out. But yeah, for the Giants to be good, I think is like you said, good for the NFL. I mean, because the New York fan base is pretty hardcore.
Yeah, yeah. So for now, go Giants.
There you go. So let's give us a recap, bro, on who we picked, and then we'll shoot out of here and get you set up for Week 3 recap.
All right, I'm gonna go down the list. I got it right here in my hands. Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. We split. I went with Pittsburgh. You went with Cleveland. Next game, New England versus Baltimore. We both went with Baltimore. Kansas City versus the Colts. I went with the Colts. Bold pick right there, and you went with the safe pick of the Chiefs. And then the next game after that, New Orleans versus Carolina. We both went with Carolina. Game after that, Houston at Chicago. The Lovie Smith return game back into Chicago. I went with Houston. You went with Chicago. The Bills versus Miami. The only reason we both went with Buffalo is because Buffalo is more established and they've already done what the Miami Dolphins are currently doing and some. And then the game after that, the Detroit Lions going into Minnesota. I went against my Vikings and you went with my Vikings. Cincinnati versus the Jets. We both went with Cincinnati. The Raiders versus the Titans. I went with the Raiders. You went with the Titans. The Eagles versus Washington. We both went with the Eagles. Atlanta goes into the 12th man. We both picked Seattle. San Francisco goes into Russell Wilson's kitchen. And we both went with San Francisco. Dallas versus New York on Monday Night Football. We both went with the Giants.
There you go. So this show was a little bit longer than usual. We usually cut these shows in half. That way you could listen to or watch the recap and then check out our picks on the next show. But that was my bad. I had too much going on yesterday. So bear with us on this episode. It was a long one, but very informative. We hope you guys like it. And if you do, like and subscribe to our Anchor on podcast if you don't like watching our faces here on YouTube. If not, still subscribe. It's pretty nice. And there'll be some perks in the future. And tell a friend because we talk NFL all the time. And we give unique takes. It's not just the woke takes from other sports channels or things like that. Any last words for the show, my man?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy to find us on YouTube. I mean, if you haven't found us on YouTube, Twitch, or any other platform, let us know in the comments. But over on Anchor, it's Out of Bounds Football Show. That's our Anchor name right there, as Out of Bounds Football Show. On YouTube, it's Out of Bounds NFL Podcasting. I want to say the name is. On Twitch, it's Out of Bounds 22. I've got to switch it over to Out of Bounds Football Show. But we'll get it going. Just like Todd was saying, if you prefer listening to us while you're driving around, go to the Anchor app and look for us. It's Out of Bounds Football Show, and give us a like, give us some feedback.
There you go. We always like to know if we were right or wrong. So with that being said, for Todd Fox and
Carlos,
check out Of Bounds every week.
and we'll see you next week.